Hello everyone and welcome back to the second episode of my tutorial series for the fly-by-wire 32NX for Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. So on the first episode we went through our pre-flight checks, checking the aircraft prior to starting the engines and APU and filing a flight plan. Today we're going to look at the mcdu and inputting a flight plan. Primarily through simbrief, as I'm sure you're already aware of how to do it in the sim itself. So we'll jump into our lovely fly-by-wire. And there you are. We are back, obviously, in Manchester, and we are starting where we left off. So we'll jump into the cockpit. Here we are. So we are back where we left off. So after have gone through the first tutorial, you should now be at the same step I'm on. The pre-start up checklist would have the fuel pumps, so I did already turn them on. They would, in real life, they wouldn't have turned them on until they're ready to start the engines and the APU, but I just do that steps because then I don't forget. So we're going to look at the flight plan and the mcdu today. So if we zoom in, there is the mcdu and our flight plan. If we turn this to plan, put the arc on about 40 miles. Don't really need a flight director at the moment, that's more on that side, but we'll put constraints on because that'll come up on our map. So if we go down to the mcdu here we are. If you go on options, I believe it's options, AOC, there we are, you should have a simbrief option. If you have a simbrief account, it's free to use. If you go on simbrief.com and create an account with those, you will need your username. So if you click on simbrief, put in your username there. Once you've put your username in, it shouldn't you shouldn't need to put your username in again. So obviously there are Shaky Gaming. You can use your user ID instead if you prefer. So if we go back to the first menu, the mcdu menu, just press mcdu instead of having to keep pressing return. You go on the ATSU, the AOC, and then at the top there you see init press. If you go to that page, init data request, if you've created a flight plan on simbrief, and I'll show you that now for you. Bear with me 1 second. We want a browser source. Okay. No, we don't. It's not that one. Ignore me. We'll remove that. Remove that. Yes. Right. Try and show you the window capture. There we go. That's the one I want. Not that. I want Google Chrome. There's the checklist. Here we go. That's what we want. So I'll show you the flight plan. So here we are. So as you can see, we have our airline. You can select what airline call sign you want. Your flight number. Let's put 8280. The aircraft you're using, your call sign, Shaky. We're at Manchester, EGCC. You put your destination 4-digit code in. This flight plan I've created is a flight plan for London Gatwick, EGKK. My alternate airport is EGLL, which is London Heathrow. Cruise altitude, it gives you your best altitude for peak performance, 190. Your date and your time, you can change those. It gives you how long the flight should take, 43 minutes, and block time of 1 hour 11 is the fuel I've got for my alternate airport and extra fuel just in case I need to do go-arounds, etc. Here's the routing. Samba 1 Romeo departure, and Samba direct to Hon. Airway N859 Kildee, and then our arrival is Willow 3 Bravo. And you can see that on the map below. I am using an older arc cycle, I know that, but I don't want to really pay for a navigraph. Simbrief is completely free to use. So yeah, it shows you, we come round here, we go round to Willow, and then it'll swing us round for our landing. And it shows you your flight plan, and it also shows you your alternate route. That is a crazy route. I don't think you would ever use that as your route, but there you are. That's the route in there. Scroll down further, you get an operational flight plan. Now remember when I told you you can select your airline, it gives you the option to select that airline's layout. It's paperwork. So Manchester Gatwick, Shaky 8280, that's my aircraft registry, G Shaky, G for Great Britain. And then it goes through your load. So trip fuel, it will take 1,347 kilograms of fuel to do the trip for 43 minutes. We have an extra 15 minutes. Our alternate, which is London Heathrow, the fuel that required for that. Time that is, what it equates to. And any extra fuel. Minimum takeoff fuel, any extras, taxi fuel, how much you'll use. So then it gives you a block fuel of 3589 as the fuel for the flight. It's a cheeky game, I can see I've read this. So it's like exactly like an operational flight plan, telephone, everything. That makes that up. So here we are, routing. So EGCC Manchester, runway 23 right, Samba 1 Romeo departure to Samba, direct to Hon. Airway N859, Kildy. You wouldn't use Willow 3 Bravo for a Kildy arrival, you'd use the Kildy arrival, but unfortunately, because I'm using an older version of the simbrief back 1903, I think this is 2019 I believe, it's not giving me the arrival for Kildy on the simbrief, but it's okay, we can manage with Willow 3 Bravo. And arrival at London Gatwick, EGKK 26, right. It tells you your the wind and etc. So wind change up 1.0 etc. Goes through your wind. Estimated times. Passengers 184 it says. No cargo. Payload 19.1. Zero fuel weight 60.1. Max 68.4. Your fuel. Takeoff weight. These will now go through all the waypoints and the wind that you've got at those waypoints etc. All the way down. But anyway, we'll go through that in complete detail. Or the main things you need to know once you've created your flight plan is these details at the top, the summary. Because your aircraft will require zero fuel weight, takeoff weight, and you'll need to check these against what the aircraft's telling you once you've imported it into the flight sim. So I'll hide that for now, and we'll head back to the mcdu. So go back on the mcdu here. You want to press the init request. There we are, EGCC to EGKK. Go back to the AOC menu and click Performance Weight and Balance. Let me just zoom out a little bit. On the top ecam page, there's FOB. That is your fuel. So if I click Load Fuel, and we zoom up, there we are, 3520 loaded. And then you go on to the arrow key here. Not that one. That one, sorry, the bottom one. Payload, 184 passengers, zero fuel weight of 60.1, and zero fuel weight, centre of gravity of 3.0. So then you go ahead and click load, and it'll load the weight. And then we'll go back to the AOC, press mcdu, go to your FMGC, don't need to mind with that, press initiate. Come to our initiate page now. You request your init, uplink insert in progress. There we are. We'll just clear that message and the GPS primary, and there you are. It's loaded the flight plan. EGCC to EGKK. EGL is our alternate. Flight number 8280. Cost index of 8. Flight level of 190. And all you're doing is you're checking that these things marry up to the summary from your flight plan, which so far so good. Then go to the init section, init 2, by the little arrow key there. Zero fuel weight, click that. It should be 60.2. Zero fuel weight, and we've got 60.0141 and a centre of gravity of 30.2, which is what it said. So we'll click that, and our planning 2.1, and it did say the trip fuel would be 17, something like that. Oh no, sorry, yeah, that's right. Anyway, the computer, the simulators calculates the block fuel at being 2.1. For our alternate airport and for the burning the APU, the taxi, etc., and the extra fuel for any contingency, we've got 3.5. So we'll just put in 3.5. Quick block. There we are. Now it'll work out. Takeoff weight 63.5, 63.4, same. Landing weight, well, that's after you've burnt the taxi fuel, etc. for to 0.2, so I'll work it out. Landing weight 62.5. You've got extra 1.4, which is an extra 47 minutes. You probably won't need that much. It's probably overcalculated slightly. Once you've done your init, go to your performance. And this is for your flaps, etc. for when you're going to take off. So usually you want a flaps one takeoff, but this all depends upon the length of the runway. But you check prior to taking off, etc. You would ask for or find out the ATIS information, which is the Air Traffic Information Service for the airport. In real life, pilots would have this in a briefing before they got into the aircraft, and it will have like weather, runways in use, winds, etc. And they'd obviously look at their operational flight plan as well, which was what I showed you from simbrief. That'd also have the winds, etc. on it. So we'll set configure for flaps 1, so it's flaps 0. It said there was winds at Manchester, so we'll do a 1.0, sorry, up 1.0. That's the we go on to flight controls, so ailerons at the back here, trim, we'll do up 1.0. It's not necessary, but you can do that. And you obviously just set our trim to be 1.0. There we are. Our flex temp, I'll go back to our window capture. And just click on this and do takeoff. There's really random stuff on Google. A320 takeoff checklist. No, performance calculator. Performance calculator. Right, there we are. So we're going up from EGCC. So you've got EGCC, META. We've got winds of 060, 8 degrees. They're not winds. 1021. Our takeoff weight 63.6, so we'll call it 64,000. And we're going from runway, if you check your flight plan, two-three right, 2-3 right. We'll do 2-3 left just as an alternate because it's slightly longer. Do our calculates to calculate our flex temp. There we are. 67 is our flex temp. So go back to our takeoff summary here. And we put 67 in. There we are. If you want to see that again, the website is called http://wapro.cz. But if you just put in A320 performance calculator, that should be the first thing that comes up on your search. So now we want to work out our V thing. So all you do for that is you just click these buttons. So V2, V-rotate, speed will be rotating to take off, and V1. There we are, so there's our speeds. So now that you've gone through your data, you've loaded data, you've done your init page, you've done your performance page, go to the flight plan. The only thing you need to do when you import from simbrief is select your departure, which will be the Samba 1 Romeo, remember? So departure, select the runway that we're taking off from, which is 23 right, and then select from this list here the departure route that we'll be taking, the SID, Standard Instrument Departure. So we're going to scroll down for Samba 1 Romeo. It's Sambi 1 Romeo. It never includes the last letter. And sometimes on the simulator the number's different as well. It might be one less or one higher. But so long as the first 4 letters are right, it should be the right SID to use. insert that and check the plan. So as you can see at the top now, it's inserted it. We'll just put that back down to 20. Even 10, that'll be a bit clearer for you. There we are. So now you can see that it's got EGCC, user, we were past that waypoint pretty quickly because that's plus 750. If you get to Talbot and it makes a left turn, Talbot, Hon and Samba, so that is the SID inputted. Then it goes on to the flight plan, direct to Hon, Kidley. There would be an airway in between, but because I'm using an older version of the flight information on the simbrief, it hasn't got the airway that I require. But it's not the worst thing in the world to go direct to a waypoint. Only if you're using VATSIM, they might ask you or query your flight plan. But when you use VATSIM, you have to submit your flight plan on the network, and the air traffic controller would tell you if you need to make any amendments. So it's all pretty self-explanatory on VATSIM, and if you do make any mistakes, they will tell you. So anyway, once you put your standard instrument departure in, we'll go down to our arrival, EGKK, and we'll put the flight plan range out a little bit more just so we can see it inputted again. Select your destination at the bottom, so we'll come back down to the mcdu, EGKK, the arrival, and the runway we want to use, which is 26 right in this case. There's RNAV. Well, what we'll do is RNAV, we'll do 26 left. And we're going via Willow Free Bravo. Scroll down till you find that. It might have the updated arrivals in here. You really want Astra 1 Golf. There it is, Astra 1 Golf. This isn't, Astra 1 Golf is not on simbrief, I don't believe. That's a mess. That's certainly not right. Yeah, Astra. Your Willow. See what that's. No, that's definitely not right. I've got Willow Free Bravo Kidley and then Willow Free Bravo as their arrival, so we'll just erase that. You just click erase if you make any mistakes, and it'll remove it. Arrival 26. Oop. Right. Yeah, 26 left, and do Willow Free Bravo. It's on there. It's not giving me that as an option, fortunately. So what we'll do, we'll amend our flight plan on our simbrief, which is good actually, because it'll show you how we do it. So we go back up to our Willow, our flight plan. If you pick edit flight, and scroll down. So change that to 26 left. Do you wish to automatically select SID or stars? Yes. Now, Willow Free Bravo for 26 left isn't there. Neither is Astra, which would be the last route, which would be the last waypoint. It's not there. Because right, if you type that in, there's your airway. If you put Astra in there, and then our arrival, which was Astra 1 Golf there, Astra 1 Golf. Click route. Because the airway, this endpoint is not Astra, it's Kidley, it comes up with an error. And it's just going to ignore that and go straight to Astra. If you put Kidley back in, Kidley, analyze, Astra 1 Golf not found, because that, Astra 1 Golf, unlike what it's in the flight sim, if you see there at the bottom, Astra 1 Golf, that bit there, that isn't in simbrief because it uses older flight data. This Microsoft Flight Data actually has more arrivals and more stars, and more SIDs and more stars than what, or up to date ones than simbrief. But simbrief is good as a rough guide as to what fuel you need to use, and generally, 9 times out of 10, you don't have any issues. So if you go back to simbrief, so you've got that issue there. It does give you suggested routes. So if you go on the flight plan, if you go on the flight sim and see what routes are available. You've got Astra 2 Bravo, or I've got Willow 3 Bravo. We'll try Willow 3 Bravo. Let me do that now. Summer 1 Romeo. I put the wrong one in, that's why. So it lets you use Kidley and then Willow 3 Bravo. But I don't think Willow was an option on there. So you basically want to try and match them up as much as you can. It's not the best example, but ILS 26 left. And then you want to match them up the best you can. Just so your arrival doesn't look terrible. Kidley, Astra. Which isn't showing up on the flight plan, which is bizarre. Kidley. That's why it all went pear-shaped. EGKK, arrival, 26 left. They're all one. Oh, I've got Kidley 1 Golf, that is on there. Via Astra. That's a lot better. That is miles better. That is not that is a flight plan that you can do it in the simulator, but not on simbrief, unfortunately, because it hasn't got Kidley 1 Golf arrival as an option on simbrief, unfortunately. Your Hon Kidley Astra and Kidley 1 Golf. Kidley 1 Golf isn't an option, doesn't give you that option on simbrief. That is the arrival you would use, Kidley 1 Golf. Which isn't on simbrief. I believe that is the more recent arrival. Below 3 Bravo. But your fuel won't be affected too much by changing your SID or your star. It's more the actual length of the route. And if you look at the this bit here, it tells you plus 28.8%. So long as the nautical miles and the percentage don't change too much when you change your SIDs or stars, your fuel, it will amend your fuel if it's accurate, but your fuel won't be too far off the money. So we'll use that. And we'll just zoom in. Back to the flight plan, and we'll just check that there are no users that require a manual. So mid, Astra, come up to Mayfield, and then we come into land. So that is a good flight plan, and it's even got the restraints on there as well, so that's fantastic. So now that you've inputted your flight plan, at this point obviously the passengers and stuff are boarded, we will go through our startup checklist. So we've gone through importing gone through importing our flight plan from simbrief, and we've imported the flight plan start and SIDS and all the details, fuel, etc. Now we will get our startup checklist, and the first thing you do is you start your APU. So to do that, come up to the top panel again. And the buttons you're looking for is APU master. Click that. Wait 3 seconds. 1, 2, 3. APU on. If you come down now to the bottom, and the bottom APU screen here, you can see APU, flap open, engine gas temperature and percentage. Now we'll wait for this to start generating power, and it'll say when it's available. When it's available, you run APU bleed. On check volts, which is what we're waiting for. It'll say APU available, and we'll check voltage, and then once that's available, we'll press APU bleed. There we are, it's starting to produce volts now. Powering up. There we are, APU available. So it just take a couple of minutes, but not too long. Now the APU is available, it's running, and we'll go outside. You can hear it. A little exhaust port at the back. That's the generator. Sun's setting in Manchester now. We'll go back into the cockpit. Once you've checked that, and you've obviously got clearance from ATC. To do that, all you do is, in the simulator, tune into your ground and request IFR clearance.
Manchester clearance delivery Shaky 8280 IFR to Gatwick, ready to copy.
And they'll give you your clearance.
8280 is cleared to Gatwick Airport as filed.
They'll tell you your altitude.
Runway, right, climb, and maintain 9,000 feet.
Set your altitude.
Is 118.775, squawk 0043.
And you come down here, 0043. You'll acknowledge your ATC.
Shaky 8280 cleared to Gatwick Airport as filed.
3.
Takeoff runway 5 right, climb, and maintain 9,000 feet. Departure on 118.775, squawk 0043.
Shaky 8280 feedback is correct. Contact ground on 121.775.
You can see down here that it's tuned into the active comms frequency in game. If you're on VATSIM, for example, you would have to tune your frequencies in manually using this knob here. Tune it, decrease it, and at the bottom you've got the left hand side, and on the top is the right hand side for the frequency dot, the decimal, and you can switch between the two with that button. You don't really need to mess with them, but they'll tell you what frequency to contact on. All you do is just tune that in on VATSIM. So after you start the APU and we've got clearance, before you start the engines, you request pushback. So we'll go ahead and request pushback. So you go on ground services and request pushback.
Manchester ground Shaky 8280 requesting pushback. Shaky 8280 pushback request accepted.
Here comes the tug. At this point, you would check that your throttles are idle. Make sure your cabin door is locked, obviously. You would activate your bleed, which is this one there. Turn on APU bleed. Turn your crank selector to the right, to the right hand side there position, and start engine 2. Obviously, at this point, you've disconnected your parking brake. Probably wanting to steer it to the left.
Manchester ground, shaky
See how
8280
engine 2 now
requesting
starts to move
pushback tug to steer the aircraft to the left.
Shaky 8280, your request has been transmitted to the operator.
Manchester ground, shaky 8280 requesting pushback tug to push the aircraft straight.
Shaky 8280, your request has been transmitted to
Now
the
you can get
operator.
different apps and applications that can do this pushback for you. I personally use Pushback Express. It's available on Sim Market. So engine 2 started now.
Manchester ground, shaky 8280 requesting pushback tug to steer the aircraft to the left.
Shaky 8280, your request has been transmitted to the operator.
We've gone a bit out of line here. This is why I use Pushback Express, because you can control it a little bit better. You don't have to keep pressing all these buttons.
Manchester ground, shaky 8280
Just go straight now.
pushback
Now
tug
there's
to
a bit
push
of a
the
delay
aircraft
between going
straight.
straight and
Shaky 8280, your request has been transmitted to the operator.
stop it there.
Manchester ground, shaky
Come back to the
8280
cabin.
requesting the end of pushback.
Shaky 8280, request to end pushback received.
That one's set. Yeah. Start engine 1. And while engine 1's starting, we can request our taxi clearance. Go back to clearance and request taxi IFR.
Manchester ground, shaky 8280 with mic ready to taxi IFR.
Shaky 8280, taxi to and hold short of runway 5 right. Contact tower on 118.63 when ready.
Knowledge clearance.
Taxi to and hold short runway 5 right, shaky 8280.
I've said 5 right. You get that information off ATIS. So we've got 23 right. 5 right. And the same departure. If it's available. Well, maybe listy 20, they want it. It's taking off on the other side. Instead of going that way, you're going out that way. Swing round and go to Samba. It'll be a different route, but there you go, that's how you change it. According to ATIS. Take off, swing around, and we go back to Samba. That would be the correct procedure. For some reason it's changed it to that, I don't know why. It's according to ATIS, so put that into ARC. Flight director. Your engine mode selector back to normal. Set spoilers. Speed brake to max. Now that both engines are available, you can turn off the bleed and turn off the APU. Switch on your taxi light and your runway turn lights, and you're ready to taxi. So you're making sure before you start the engines, obviously, that they were in idle, that there was no flaps deployed, nothing available. So parking brake is off. You can set parking brake now before you take off, before you start your taxi. Mode select to norm, and now you're ready for your taxi. So you'd make sure that before you did any of this, obviously now lights, and you've done all your lights already, strobe, beacon, nav, taxi lights are set, APU will turn off, seatbelt sign is on. You're ready to go. Make sure that your QNH is the correct QNH for the area. The quickest way to do that in the flight sim is just press B on your keyboard, and once you've turned off your APU and your mode selectors back to normal, you get your takeoff checklist. So cabin check is bing bong. Your flaps performance page, flaps 1. I'll put them flaps 1. And then once they've deployed fully, you do your takeoff config check, which is the little TO button there. When you've got no blue on your ECAM, you're ready to go. See, the captain then tells the cabin crew that they're ready to go. And then you would proceed with your taxi. When you get to, well, before your taxi, sorry, we've basically done start up and taxi checklist. So the taxi checklist, you've done your spoilers, your speed brakes. Now you would check your flight control. So full left rudder, full right rudder, full up, full down. There we are. You've done your speed brakes to max. Your spoilers are armed. Your autopilot. If you needed to set it, you'd set it, but you don't activate it. You've already got it. You've already got it ready to go. All you do when you're up in the air is press AP, and you're off you go. Your radio and avionics is set for departure. That's making sure you've got the right radio frequencies ready to go. Your standby instruments are set and ready to go. Your heading indicator and altimeters are all set, so you've set it to your local QNH, and you've got your max brake, climb, and nav enabled. So flight director, constraints. It's all ready and set. You've got your flex temp calculator put in, everything's ready to go. Your flight director's on, constraints are on, your modes are selected to what you need. Your lights, your taxi lights are on, your parking brakes released, ready to go. This is when you start your taxi. Taxi to assigned runway, maximum at 20 knots. You've done your checks, your speed, your brakes, your flaps. You've done your takeoff config check. You do this during taxi usually, but I usually do it before a taxi. And your takeoff memo, which is this bit here, no blue, so you're ready to go. And then you would then proceed to your designated runway. So I hope this tutorial on how to get the engine started and your pre-flight check, your pre-taxi check and startup checklist. I hope you found this second video useful. On our next video, we'll be taxiing to the runway, and we will be doing our before takeoff checklist. And then once we've our takeoff checklist, yeah, we'll be doing before takeoff checklist and our takeoff checklist. I'll be doing that as we start our takeoff roll. So yeah, I hope you found this useful. Second video in our tutorial series. By this point, it gets a lot easier from here on out. You know how to start the aircraft, you've checked it all, you've configured it for takeoff. And it's just a matter of taxiing into the runway. But yeah, our next video we're going to be doing our before taxi takeoff checklist, our takeoff checklist, and our climb out checklist. They all come pretty quick and fast. I won't say when the checklist is. I'll be just going through the motions and talking to you in what order of doing things and how to do it. So yeah, I hope you found that useful, and I'll see you in the next video. But for now, take care and goodbye.